Yeah. Sports reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this town. Real talk only, no chaser, no doubt. From the east to the west, it's the order we shout. Mic check, lights flash, game time, stay ready. 2 vets in the zone, keep the pressure real heavy. Big hits, big plays, yeah, we breaking it down. Truth rings in your speakers, every word is the crown. From the north side hustle to that southern flame. Midwest grind, west coast of the game. Sports talk kings, yeah, we wear that crown. Turn it up, let them know it's about to go down. Sports reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this town. Real talk only, no chaser, no doubt. From the east to the west, it's the order we shout.
It's about to go down.
Yes. And if you ask most people, they would say it's already went down. It's already been brought in. NFL free agency is here, ladies and gentlemen, and you are listening to the Sounds of Sports Reports is ordered wherever you get your podcasts. You know what I'm saying? Of course, check out Say Less, Say More as well. I got the one and only world famous, world renowned. He is Mr. Logical. I am 2-5, a.k.a. your master of ceremonies. You know what I'm saying? But also, we got some NBA talk to get into. It is March. Conference tournaments are in full swing now. And then the president of this here country had some thoughts about NIL that we'll get into. So, Mr. Logical, we're going to take it right from the top. Right before we decided to press this button and come on these airwaves, you know what I'm saying, Maxx Crosby, who was a Raven as of Friday, is not. And probably the reason that he's not is because he didn't like, review, subscribe, share, rate, or do the free things or good things. And he damn sure didn't have a liquid death in his hand. But he's out here failing physicals. The Ravens gave up 2 first-round picks for him. So what up, Mike? So what up? So what now?
Trey Hendrickson. Joe Burrow's nightmare is not over. Aaron Rodgers' nightmare is not over. And I'm saying Shador nightmare is not over. Baltimore will go get the next available. I can't believe this pass rusher went to the Ravens. But conversely, they did have a lot of trouble, stopping the pass. You see Malik Willis, we'll get into that. He pretty much got paid off of that one game where he torched the Baltimore defense. The physical thing. I don't know what it could have been. I know the Raiders sat him down towards the end of the last year, and we have this big conversation about tanking. Well, they sat him down, and then Max posted a video of him shooting jump shots in the gym. Like, I'm not injured, so I don't know if that was the back and forth, but if the doctors felt like something wasn't stable or, something didn't come back right, it's standard. It's rare for such a big name and such a big deal, and people reacting both ways. Lamar was very happy Friday. I don't know how he's feeling right now. And I don't know if you can redo the trade or if it's just like, hey, now that's not even an option. Or you go back to the drawing boards and get a second-round pick versus a first-round pick. I don't know what the tactics are there. But, yeah, it's definitely a bombshell. But, it's just the Ravens will retool and get somebody else, probably Trey Hendrickson.
Yeah, so, this it's one of those things, right? As a guy wearing this outfit that I'm wearing, that is often very jealous of the Baltimore Ravens front office. This is the first time that they probably made a misstep, if you will. So generally speaking, it's not uncommon for players, even basketball players, to get some kind of meniscus trim from time to time, get something shaved down a little bit, let it heal, be better than ever. But he got a full-on meniscus surgery just a month ago. You know what I mean? So that's where, number one, if you're Baltimore, why would you give up 2 first-round picks? knowing that, because you could give up a first round pick, maybe a later pick, but they were giving them up in consecutive years. So number 14 this year and their first round pick for next year for a guy that is coming off of legit meniscus surgery. You have to assume to some degree if he's getting a full-on meniscus surgery, and this is a guy that has had multiple surgeries throughout his career, there was going to be a chance that he could fail this physical. Now, I guess the thought is we're going to try to jump on this before somebody else gets him. That's obviously the thought because free agency is open. Let's do this. But I guess you got to do your homework to some degree. Not that you could probably tell that he was going to fail the physical, but at least have it in the back of your mind that it could be possible.
Well, if you're right, but that's the thing. You're negotiating against 30 other teams potentially. I mean, realistically, he's not going to go to every team, but if anyone can get to his agent and say, hey, we're willing to give him $5 to $8 more million than this other team, then that conversation has to be taken. Like the agent has to take that call. So the Ravens are probably thinking like, hey, if we don't just jump on this right now, somebody else can come in and snake us. And maybe the agent did a good job of saying, I was in talks with LA, or, we do have another meeting with another team, or whatever tactic the agent used to kind of force the hand of Baltimore to pull the trigger. But like I said, they had their ace in the hole of like, you still have to pass our physical with our team doctors or whoever they contracted out that responsibility to. So sometimes you just want to get there first. And I think the Ravens like, we want to get there first. And if it works out, we're golden. And if it doesn't, we get our picks back, and we know the Bengals are, pussyfooting with Trey Hendrickson. Maybe we slide in there. But I'm pretty sure the Costa has a backup plan.
Well, but on top of that, you also have this. The Raiders have made moves since this trade has happened. They went and got Teron Johnson from Buffalo. They went and got Nakobe Dean. They went and got Quay Walker. They went and got Tyler Lindenbaum from the Ravens. So now everything is kind of on hold because that was money clearing out for you to make these moves.
But they had like $120 million in cap space. They had like a crazy amount of money. And I don't know how much.
No, I know. I just don't know what his cap hit is off the top of my head to know, or not cap hit, but what he's bringing back until they can move him again.
Well, if you're Maxx Crosby, you get sent back and you kind of look at the moves. You look at the fact they still have their, first round pick, which is probably going to be Mendoza. Maybe you say, listen, let's restructure this thing. Give me a nice little roster bonus, pay it out on March 31st, and give me the number 98 back, and let's see we can make magic happen. But I don't know if the relationships are just soiled and those bridges are burned and no one's sending a yacht to get you. But yeah, that's you either have to go back to square one or be willing to go to a lesser team who's willing to take on the fact that you might not be ready by preseason, or give you that, that leverage to say, you know what, you can rest. We know football. Just get healthy. We'll need you in September and October more than we need you in June and July.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Saying I'm here for it. Like the Raiders, after they made this trade, we're sitting nice. You know what I mean? Like I said, the names that I just mentioned, they still have the number 1 overall draft pick in this draft upcoming. They got off of Geno Smith. So, the Raiders were cooking with gas. Now we'll have to see. Like, I'm sure Maxx Crosby is a big enough name, a great enough player that someone is going to take that leap. Because just because you failed the physical with Buffalo, we've seen people fail. I mean, with Baltimore, we've seen people fail physicals before and then go elsewhere and suddenly not have a problem. So,
if whatever you failed for can heal between now and, if I had to guess, July, where we're sitting at March 10th, if whatever surgery you had, you can heal and be. But
I think that might be the issue, can it? Because I don't think if you're a team like Baltimore, who we've been talking about since last season started. This is a team that's going all in. You know what I mean? That feels like they're right on the brink of a Super Bowl. So I don't feel like you make a move like this and then pull out of it if you don't have long-term concerns.
Maybe they wanted him to show up with a different timeline. Maybe the timeline they were expecting was 8 to 12 weeks, and it might be 12 to 14. And they were like, we wanted you ready in 8. We need you ready in May for like the whatever mini camp they're going to have. Whatever they had in mind. Because like I said, if it was a meniscus surgery, and I'm not acting like I know how that feels or the rehab, but a lot of players across a lot of sports have that surgery and come back. So it's just a matter of maybe just the timeline didn't match. Maybe what they thought they got from their initial, conversation that the medical was going to be less of a problem. And then they show up and it's like, oh, this is a little bit more. It's like, you buy a car and it's like, yo, I get that it has 50,000 miles, but you didn't say anything about like the axle also need to be repaired. Like I could deal with the 50,000 miles, but now I got this on top of that. Like now I'm rejecting the whole thing.
Well, at this point, Bears, Cowboys, Lions, and maybe New England, you're up. You're on the clock. Can you make this happen? And
Brady,
but
rumor
that's the
had
other
Tom
part.
Brady didn't want to send him to New England.
That's true. But the other point here is what's the new trade now? Wherever he ends up. I don't know if you're going to get those 2 first-round picks in that way again. Maybe you have to attach a player. Maybe you have to, add a later pick or maybe a later round pick versus 2 first.
That value, that 2 first-round picks for the Ravens. I'm sure there's other teams who feel like they are a defensive playmaker away from being ultra dynamic, will still take a shot and still be willing to offer up a couple of first-round picks. Because this is the NFL. The NFL is one of those rare sports where you can find contributing talent in 5th, 6th, 7th round, other teams, practice squads, undrafted free agents. You can find guys that fit your role. And it's all a matter of what you value. I was having a conversation at work this week with someone. They were talking about how the Chiefs, we're going to get to that. Chiefs paid the running back, and they saw more value in him than the Seahawks. I don't know the Seahawks.
Which is crazy considering that Mahomes ain't going to be there this year.
Well, maybe they think he's on track to come back earlier. Who knows? He doesn't run much, so if you can get it to go and he could just scramble. But to the Chiefs, they felt like, hey, we are big enough up front defensively. Our scheme works in the back end defensively. So we shore up the offensive line. We go get the running back. Now we're creating a situation where the running back who can catch out of the backfield a little bit has to be respected by the linebacker. Now Mahomes has enough space to throw that pass behind. But like that's how they value. Whereas a team like the Raiders are like, yo, we need to get big money for this center. So we'll give a center, I think it was $60 million guaranteed.
Yeah, that was Lindenberg from Baltimore.
We need to get the guy we have playing running back. We need to get him in the space, and we're probably going to draft a rookie quarterback. We need to shore that up. So they put their $60 million there. So it's just a matter of like what teams value. And I think Maxx Crosby being that kind of piece, somebody's going to be like, you know what? We'll give up a 22, a 22nd or 23rd pick, one of those teams that is kind of on the fringe.
So you said a word that I want to focus on.
Let's hear it.
Quarterback. Talk to me, Falcon fan.
I don't want to be negative.
Out of all dudes, the one dude that you always talk about, his weak arm and like all that.
I did some little rudimentary math. I didn't look at the whole schedule, but I looked at the basic Falcons schedule expectations for next year.
Okay.
They're gonna get, we'll say 8 home games, because I'm not sure if it's 8 or 9, but we'll call it 8 home games. Those are all in domes, roof closed. They're gonna get a road game in New Orleans, dome, roof closed. They're going to get 1 game in Tampa. More than likely, it'll be above 40 degrees. just because it's Tampa. Like, I doubt it's going to be New England cold in Tampa, no matter when it pops up on the schedule. So that's a warm game. So that's 10. Carolina, more likely, that game will probably be warm. Other than that, like I said, unless it's like at the end of December and it's a little cold front hitting the East Coast, he is accurate enough to get these little dink and dunks off. Both quarterbacks are left-handed, so it gives you an advantage of how you can set up your offense. And if one guy's healthy and he comes back, you don't have to change much. It's a one-year deal. Miami's paying all of his other money that he's gotten, so it's like,
yeah, y'all are paying just under $2 million.
Yeah, for the sake of just, I mean, the guy was at least a Pro Bowler, MVP conversation for a couple of years. I personally didn't have him there, but
well, there's
you got to do something, and I don't think going with a young guy would have made a lot of sense.
Well, there's two pieces of good news
if
we
win 7 or 8 games, now you're back at drafting at 22 again or 19.
So there's 2 pieces of good news here. You know what I mean? And 1 piece of bad news. So let's just say Michael Penix isn't the starter. Let's say Tua will be the starter. Yeah. You know, the good news is, 1, you play in a dome.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The other good news is you play in the NFC South. So there ain't no Lambeau here and Soldier Field there and all this kind of stuff where you got to play in the cold weather. But the bad news is, you know what I'm saying, Carolina went out here and got Jalen Phillips and Devin Lloyd. So, you know, Tua's still going to be running for his life if he's behind center. Yeah. But they got the quarterback whisperer, right? Yeah, they lost Tyler Algier. You know, they got the quarterback whisperer, right? Kevin Stefanski at head coach. So, you know, if he can work wonders.
I mean, he had a 5'8" left-handed quarterback last year. So it wouldn't surprise me if Dylan Gabriel ended up as the third guy.
And that's the guy that you always compare Tua to, or you compare Dylan Gabriel to him.
Yeah, so, and I thought Miami was gonna take a flyer on a left-handed quarterback, just because they already had one, and I think they were the only team with the starting left-handed quarterback. I was like, well, there's a couple of them in the draft the past few years. I don't know why you just didn't just kind of make that guy your backup.
So it's going to be interesting.
It's going to be interesting. They lost Tyler Algier, and then Atlanta did Atlanta things. They cut Mooney. They go get Olamide Zaccheaus. They go get Austin Hooper, who was on the team when they went to the Super Bowl. So I'm not sure if that's. I don't know why that move was made. They went and got Jahan Dotson from Philly, which is just like, it's a very. I don't want to be dismissive of these athletes, but their output, the output of the players that Atlanta is bringing in is very like middle of the road, which has bothered me for years, because that means you have to play perfect. You can't make any mistakes. Teams like Detroit, Buffalo, Baltimore, Kansas City, the Rams, certain teams, you know, the Bears, because they kind of play with a different kind of energy. You can have a bad first quarter and a half a second quarter and go into halftime down 14-6 and turn it around. Like, you could come out and make the second half adjustments because you have top tier coaching, playmakers. It's just a matter of like, all right, let's regroup. Let's go back out there. Atlanta has to make every drive work. They got to make the field goal on the long drive. They got to get off the field on third down. They can't rely on their ability to like just stuff the run inside the, you know, if the team gets in the red zone, because they don't stop the run well. So it's like they have so many holes that it has to be like perfect football in order to be competitive. That's why they've been so mid the last few years. 7-8 wins, because it's like you're not dynamic enough to just run off 3 touchdown drives out of your first 4 or 5 drives in the game. It just doesn't happen. So and they're making these moves that kind of solidify that same, you know, philosophy.
So how about Detroit? They started out with a Montgomery, ended up with a Pacheco. You know, so on the Houston side of things, I love the David Montgomery pickup for them. You know, they cut Joe Mixon, you know, so they still got some other running backs.
Woody Marks of linemen, and it's like, offensive line.
They picked up one today, I know.
Yeah.
But they still have Woody Marks, who came on at the end of last year. So I think Houston is setting themselves up once they address that line. They got the receivers already.
If
now you just got to figure out.
Healthy, I think they'll be fine. I think C.J. Stroud seems to be able to. I think he was getting a bad rap because we feel like he had the sophomore slump and now his third year slump. But in big moments, his guys weren't there. Like he just was missing.
He had his bad games coming off of injury too. You know what I mean? And he just late in the season. And then they went and played in a couple of cold weather games where it goes back to Houston, plays in a dome. So, that's going to be tough, you know what I mean, for those type of teams. We've seen it even with people like Peyton Manning, for example, when he used to go to Foxborough and would struggle a little bit. So I'm not ready to throw in the towel on C.J. Stroud just yet, but I think that a move like this helps solidify him because Houston has always, I would say at least since he's been there, they've had moments, but they're not known as a running juggernaut. So
they just haven't been able to dominate the line of scrimmage on the offense side of the ball. What they have in a creative player in Danielle Hunter is enough, and then you throw Will Anderson on the other side, and then their linebacking core. I think their defensive backfield. It's top tier. They just have playmakers all over the field defensively. It's just that if the defense is an A, the offensive line enters your game at a C, and depends on how it goes, they can end up a D- effort at the end of the game. And that's the problem.
Hey, do you know how dejected I am right now? If you don't, here it is right here. Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo went out and got DJ Moore. We've been talking about DJ Moore and Caleb Williams and how that marriage wasn't going to last much longer. It lasted a lot longer than we thought it would, I think, too.
Oh, yeah. Because, I thought he was out of there before the trade deadline his rookie year.
So I think that Buffalo, is setting themselves up, but I'm waiting to see because – what are they going to do with Keon Coleman? That's what I'm waiting for. They're bringing Dawson Knox back. They still have Josh Allen and Cook, obviously. So they're always going to be competitive. But now they need to focus some of those resources on the other side of the football. So I'm looking to see what Buffalo does. Alec Pierce, 4 years, $114 million. Woo! Talk to me, Mr. Logical.
I'm not 100% sure about that move, but it does lend itself to this theory that I've had about football. And I remember I told my son this when he was like maybe a freshman. I was like, son, honestly, if you went to college and you sat for 2 years, and then your junior year you came out and you exploded on the scene, that might be all you need. You saved your body because you didn't get hit for 2 years. You just worked out, gained weight, got bigger, just older, stronger, smarter in the scheme. And then you come out your junior year, you have an explosive year. Now you're at the top of, now portal list or draft list. I think Pierce has had that kind of year where it was like, oh, he had a decent couple of years. And then he had the lead in the NFL in catches, 21 yards, a catch or something like that. Now it's like, whoa, somebody else is going to want him. Let's lock him in because a deep threat to because at some point they're going to have to get a young quarterback. I don't know. I think they got $50 million or something, the request for Daniel Jones, or they kind of gave him some kind of tag to where you can negotiate. But I think that tag is like $37 million. If I'm hitching my wagon quarterback wise to Daniel Jones, I don't know if I'd give a wide receiver that much money. I would probably go with more pieces to kind of make it easier for the offensive flow. But that is a lot of money. I hope it works out. They got rid of Michael Pittman because we didn't think that $120 million he got made a lot of sense. And that was a few years ago, and they moved him off the pitch.
So there is a lot of value in being able to take the top off the defense, and for Alec Alec Pierce, his career, right? Rookie year, 14.5 yards per reception, 16.1, 22.3. Last year, 21.3. So, yes, did they overpay for him? Absolutely, they did. But you know what? They kind of have to, especially if they did make that Michael Pittman trade. Josh Downs can't stay healthy. So you can't expect them to come into the season and start with a whole brand new receiving core. You know, they traded A.D. Mitchell last year. And then, you know, you get into the draft this year. So I'm guessing they're going to bring in a receiver from the draft. And it's still early in free agency. They can bring in another receiver. But the Michael Pittman, the Pittsburgh thing, that was surprising to me. But Pittsburgh has been on it. They went and got Rico Dowdle. You know, they brought Asante Samuel Jr. back. Talk to me about Pittsburgh. You know, say how you liking them so far.
I like Pittsburgh. Like I said, I like the Michael Pittman deal. I think having him opposite DK should work. Aaron should be happy. He shouldn't be snapping his chin strap that many times per game. I'm gonna take the over under at 2.5.
Oh, hold on. Let me say this real quick. Hold on. So appreciate you, Mike. So you know, Dallas Mike just sent me this. So we were talking about Maxx Crosby earlier. Yeah. So and then I'm gonna let you get right back to it. So as of because of the trade that they sent him to Baltimore, they brought in an additional $30.69 million in cap space. But they gave Lindenbaum the 3 years, 81, Nakobe 3 years, 36, Quay Walker 3 years, 40.5. So they're just going to have to move some money around, and we'll see how that plays out. But
that's why you hired guys from MIT to be your capologists, and they can figure out how to make that work. But yeah, I think Pittsburgh, their offense looked very pedestrian last year, but like I said, that's how I feel about Arthur Smith. I don't think he was very creative, and then only giving him one weapon, you don't even force him to try to do anything new. But now with two weapons, because I was upset with him in Atlanta when he had Drake London and Kyle Pitts, and was like, dog, why don't you line these guys up on the same side, make the defense have to trust one of them? But he was like, he just kept making it easy. I'm going to put Kyle Pitts over here so this corner can lock him down, and I'm going to put Drake London out here so they could double team him. And it was like, and we would get nothing with Desmond Ridder or whoever else was throwing on the ball. It was like, get creative. Now I think he has enough weapons to where you got to be able to make something work with this. And Aaron's the same way. Like, all right, those games where you were going 17 for 24 for 200 yards, that's not that, you can't do that now with a run game and two bona fide, you know, essentially number one guys alternating 1 and 1A. They should be a bigger threat offensively. I don't know what they're going to do defensively. I don't know about the age and the health and everything else, but offensively, they should be able to, you know what? If we got to win this game 31-30, so be it. Let's go do it.
You did all this talking about Atlanta and didn't even bring up Jahan Dotson. How sick of you. But but in your division, I don't even remember. In your division.
That's what I'm saying, because he's so mid, you didn't even remember it. Literally, that's what I mean. Literally, in our conversation, the guys they brought in are like not even, what even were for you paying attention to me? And you and I are having a big space conversation. This is what this team does to me, man.
So in your division, the Saints went out and got Travis Etienne and Kenneth Gainwell. So, you know, I'm thinking that, you know, obviously Kamara's days are numbered. I like these moves for the Saints, but also in your division, the guy that joined Jerry Rice with all these 1,000-yard season to start his career is now in the Bay. Mike Evans gone. How much of a cathartic moment was that for you?
That just means Mecca Ibuka is going to get more catches. He's going to be more open against Atlanta because we don't have a pass rush, because our pass rush is probably going to go to jail or get suspended. I like it. The one thing that I heard a pundit say, and I thought about it, was like Greg Kittle, I would call him George Kittle, was very happy that he showed up, but there's no other wide receiver that's going to spread him out. They try to compare it to Devontae Adams going to LA, but LA had Puka that you had to respect in the Rams passing game. And Kyle Shanahan's going to run up and design a bunch of plays. But if Pearsall can't really step up and be a threat down the field or stay healthy, then they're going to have to make another move to where you're going to have to either pick your poison. Am I going to go Mike one-on-one with Mike Evans? He's older. Maybe you think that he lost a step, but he's still 6'5", very dynamic at the point, high point the ball. Are you going to go man-to-man? Or are you going to help a guy out? Or are you going to double Pearsall? It's just you just got to figure out how it's going to work. Because Shanahan's going to get him open. He's going to scheme him open. I don't know why he left Tampa Bay. Was always curious did Tampa Bay not want to give him $60 million? Like, how do you play for a team for that long? And then it gets to the point where it's like someone who doesn't know you is willing to offer you $60 million. But it was like the team that you played for all these years, they don't have that same money available for you. I'm
sure they do, but I'm not giving it to him at this stage of his career. You know what I mean? Like at this stage of his, he's about 12 years in now, coming off of injuries. He's so it's only going to get worse as far as here. Like, you got the best absolute years out of him.
Every player is going to get worse.
I'm not paying you for what you did for me. I'm paying you because, like, if I'm an NFL team, I'm not paying you based off of what you've done. I'm paying you based off what I think you're going to do.
And that's what I'm saying. So how does another team think you have 3 years left in you? My own team that I've played for, just like now.
Well, for one, let's look at the team. Well, for one, let's look at the team that he went to, and let's look at, like you just brought it up, look at their receiving core. Brandon Ayuk's probably out of there. Pearsall got to stay healthy. They got Jawan Jennings. Outside of that, like DeMarcus Robinson had a good season this year. Especially that playoff game against Philly. So I don't know about $60 million. You know what I mean? Like, if that's what you're looking for, then I'm sorry. Like, I got to stack the receiver room coming in as it is. I get Jalen McMillan back this year. Ibuka came in, started off hot this season. Still got Godwin. So Tampa Bay has weapons that I don't need to overpay for you. And I don't mean that disrespectfully, you know what I'm saying? But it's just
a delicate balance. You have a salary cap. You got to buy.
Yeah, but think about this.
You don't want to waste the owner's money.
Let's see how good your memory is. What is the analogy that I made about Tampa Bay's defense coming into this year?
You said they were old.
No, I said that they were Sammy Sosa. They either sack you or
they give up.
You give. So they got to get that money and do something else with it and shore up that defense, because you could have all those weapons. I'm not trying to be Cincinnati South.
Yeah, losing games 38-35.
That ain't wavy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Isaiah Likely to the Ravens. Where does Kyler Murray end up?
Mike says something interesting earlier, talk about the Raiders. I still don't know, because I don't know if he's – unless you plan – I don't know if you take Kyler Murray and then take a quarterback number one, and I don't think you take Kyler Murray and pass up on a quarterback at number one. So if I'm the Raiders, I just take the quarterback and build the best wall I can build with the best safety blankets I can find out of the backfield, tight ends, wide receivers, quick game. Like, can we get him in the room with Tom Brady, have him break down film? Maybe you can expedite his knowledge growth for the NFL. But if I look around, I think Minnesota could probably take a flyer on him. Yeah, I don't know why that popped in my head, but yeah, now I see why, because it's on the screen. I think Minnesota takes a flyer. I thought Miami would. I felt like I think Miami probably would have been a good position. I believe right now that's probably it. I mean, because I don't think he's a backup, and I don't know if he's a good mentor either. So I think he has to go somewhere where you're going to make him the starter. And as I'm thinking off the top of my head, I think Minnesota is probably the only place that's not fully secure at quarterback. Unless I'm missing a location. I know the
So
Jets go get
I do have
Geno.
somebody in my mind. I do have somebody in mind that's not one of those teams. But I will say that Minnesota makes the most sense because you have an established quarterback guy at head coach, Kevin O'Connell. We saw how he helped. I ain't gonna give him all the credit. Helped turn Sam Darnold around. I know everybody's down on JJ McCarthy. But JJ
And you have
McCarthy had
recent
moments.
evidence of him being really bad, so it doesn't hurt. It does the fan base won't be bothered that you brought in another quarterback because the last memories they have of him is his 40% completions. Yeah.
So I have a team in mind, and I don't know how realistic it is. The Sacramento A's. No. But that ain't a joke. But no, for real. All jokes aside, I'm gonna say no. This is a team I don't think it's really realistic just because of money and all the other stuff that they got going on. But I'm looking at them if I'm Cleveland. I got Myles Garrett, I got Mason Graham, and I got the defense over here. You know what I mean? If I got to choose between Kyler Murray and Shador, give me Kyler Murray.
But you also have Deshaun Watson.
That's why I said it's not realistic, but I think that's the best. I think that would be one of the better moves.
I don't even text a quarterback if I'm Cleveland. If I'm Cleveland, I'm like the dude that got caught cheating. Like, don't even log onto your Facebook no more. Just log out of it. Just stay away from Cleveland. Stay away from quarterbacks. You have enough in the building. Make it work.
And another one real quick. My bad. Another one real quick from what Scott just sent me. Maxx Crosby couldn't even touch his toes, but I'm telling you, this crazy stuff going on out here.
He was fighting Sean Strickland last week in the ring.
But I think that Minnesota makes the most sense. You know what I mean? As far as, like I said, if we're just looking at football reasons, I would have said the Jets, but they just brought Geno in, so that doesn't make sense to do that. If I'm the Raiders, I would really have to think about this. Like, do I want Kyler Murray or do I want Fernando Mendoza? You know what I mean? Because I don't know if Fernando Mendoza is this NFL quarterback that is going to turn around a franchise and, lead me to some kind of form of promised land. But all in all,
want to be Indy?
The Sacramento A's.
Yeah, like with Kyler Murray, if I'm Kyler Murray, I don't want to go to a team. I don't want the Kirk Cousins conundrum to happen to me.
No, the Giants got Jackson Dart. My bad.
He's not gonna get a lot of money. He's not gonna go there and get a Kirk Cousins deal. But the last thing you want is to go there knowing that the team has a top 10 draft pick and they are in need of quarterback. Kirk Cousins already solved Atlanta's need for quarterback, but Atlanta didn't feel the same way. So you end up you're not trading number one overall pick. If you're a rebuilding team and you've suffered through all this, you just go with the simplest plan, which is take your quarterback number one overall. Like I said, pair with Tom Brady intellectually and build the wall to keep him upright and build the offense around him so he can figure it out. He play a lot of college football, so he's older. He's not like a new Jack. He's not one of these guys only had like 12 to 18 starts. Like Dante Moore only had like a handful of starts. Mendoza's played a couple of schools, won a national championship, a lot of pressure. Granted, they had a really good coach and they had a really good team, but I'll take that over Kyler Murray. But if I'm Minnesota, I think that's probably his best shot. Once again, 8 or 9 games in the dome. And he has an arm strength to throw it around Lambeau. He has an arm strength to throw it around Chicago.
No, I agree. But what makes the Raiders interesting with Fernando Mendoza, at least, is that they did hire Clint Kubiak as their head coach. So that would be interesting to see what he could do with that.
I like to marry the first-year coach with the quarterback. Listen, get your growing pains together. It's like your first apartment. You got the furniture figured out. You got to figure all these things out together. I'd rather you be there versus having somebody in there in the way. Because I don't think Kyler Murray is going to be a great educator. Like he said it a lot. He's like, it's not my job to get this guy the ball.
Hey, realistically,
his wide receivers.
realistically, if we're convinced that this is it for that quarterback, I wouldn't even mind Pittsburgh looking at Kyler Murray. But Mr. Logical, the meeting took place. You know what I mean? Urban Meyer was present. Nick Saban was present. Tommy Tuberville's got ideas. The president had no idea that the Supreme Court had already litigated most of this stuff, but during this conversation, he made the comment along the lines of, we have to get back to pre-NIL concepts. Tommy Tuberville offered one-time transfer rule and a blanket 5 years, no waivers, 5 years you're out, so I can live with the 5 years you're out. As far as the transfer part, now the football person in me is okay with a one-time transfer rule, but I can't sign off on that if the regular students can keep leaving. Like, what makes them any different? Because they're not athletes. Like, I don't think that the answer could be scholarships associated with NIL, and that kind of becomes your contract. Like, here's a 2-year deal, whatever the case may be. But I don't know, man. What you think?
All right, this is what I think. I don't want to get too political. I mean, I'm gonna keep it simple. I'm just keep it simple and logical.
Oh, I got something.
I'm gonna dive into it anyway. But as far as the pre-NIL concepts, post-NIL transfers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, the problem I have is that the reason that the pay in the players was a problem is because the school wasn't protecting, the schools weren't locked in with the players either. So they were on 1-year renewable scholarships. Guys didn't get 4-year rides. They got 1-year renewable scholarships based off of performance, behavior, and even the hiring and firing of your coach. Calipari talked about this when he got hired at Kentucky. He had to talk to all the guys who were like, hey, I think you're a hell of a player, but now that I'm hired here, I'm bringing in my own guys. So guys can be left to just have to transfer anyway. They were just given like an exception. They didn't have to sit out a year because your coach came in. But by the time all these things happened, they were already out of. So you couldn't go from Kentucky to Auburn because all those spots were filled. You end up going to like a D2 school or something like that and try to work your way back in. The pre-NIL is just a way for coaches and administrators to just control the players yet again. This current generation of players, yes, I think some of them are milking it, but in the same sense, we all watched Lane Kiffin do what he did. We watched Nick Saban 17, 18 years ago stand up at the podium in Miami after he was coaching the Dolphins and say, I'm not coaching Alabama, and then took a deal. We all saw Petrino leave laminated messages for his players in Atlanta and then went back to college. So all these coaches have left, and they have more of an impact on the team than the players do. If I'm a quarterback and I'm the second string quarterback, and like right now, Dylan Raiola, he's at Oregon, Dante Moore came back. If Dante Moore says, I'm coming back again after this year because I want to get to 30 starts or whatever that number is, then Dylan's like, okay, I'm leaving. I'm not taking a coaching staff with me. I'm not taking a film guy with me. I'm not taking an assistant coach. I'm not taking any coordinators. I am literally taking my own arm and body and talent to another place. So if I can't just leave here by myself, it's because you want to control me here. Because there's no stipulation on the coaches, because Nick Saban didn't stay at Toledo, keep coaching. He didn't stay at Michigan State. He went to where the talent was. He went to where the money was. So allow these players to do the same thing. If they mess it up, that's on them. They're adults, allowed to make their own decisions. You don't get to regulate how I use my name, image, and likeness, and my talent to get ahead.
I'll do you one even better. I'll raise your Nick Saban didn't stay at Toledo and LSU or Kent State and Toledo, I'll take you and I'll raise you a. He was the one on national TV telling Lane Kiffin to leave a playoff team. While Ole Miss was literally preparing and about to go to the playoffs, he said, you need to go to LSU.
Kurt Signetti, a disciple of Nick Saban, took his all the quality players from JMU to Indiana with him to win 25 games in the last 2 years.
Now check this out. And this one's for you out there, Mike. How about this one? How much do you think Nick Saban's, because we're talking about Nick Saban, how much do you think his contract was when he first signed to Alabama? Oh, wow.
We'll go 5 years, $40 million.
4 years, 5 years, 8 years, $32 million. My bad. I got my numbers all flipped up.
4 million
8 years, $32 million. So the reason that I bring that up is because we fast forward to today. Ohio State is paying Matt Patricia $3.75 a year to be their defensive coordinator. So you're telling me that there's a money problem. You're telling me that these schools are going broke. Whereas a guy that had never coached college football before, as a coordinator before 2 years ago, is at a place where he's making just less than what Nick Saban made when he got hired at Alabama, right? Okay, now granted, that was 19 years ago. Times change, inflation,
it's still
all
Matt
that
Patricia.
good stuff.
Matt Patricia has failed at every coaching stint he's had, but yet he walked into $3.75 million. So if I'm Jeremiah Smith and I have to play here for 3 years, even though my body probably would have been perfectly fine on Houston's starting lineup last year, I got to play another year at Ohio State because you guys made this rule that I have to be 3 years removed from college. I don't want to say it's a race thing, but it looks very eerily similar to a race thing. Jalen Rose said this week. He was like, the sports that are primarily the athletes, the primary athletes, the best players in the sport, the ones that are black, have salary caps. There's post-high school monetary restrictions. So if you play tennis, you can go pro at 13 if you get the ball hard enough. At golf, 14, 13. If you can hit it hard enough, if you can win, you can go pro. You can swim in the Olympics as a high school student and get paid. You could do all these things in all these other sports that aren't typically associated with black athleticism. But all the black athleticism sports seem to have a salary cap. They have very harsh penalties for behavior. Like if you say something to the ref in a basketball game, you're out. You can cuss a hockey ref out. These dudes on hot mic just cussing these guys out. You get a 2-minute penalty.
Besides the fact that they can fight.
Then they let you fight. And then baseball teams, they clear the benches and the bullpen. Everybody runs on the floor, and they go right back to where they were. Amari Stoudemire stepped on the paint. They got suspended for a game. So it's very obvious.
For a game 7.
It's very obvious what the current administration and people in power have always tried to do to black people in America is that we want to limit how much you can prosper. We want to put a cap on how much you can prosper. But the problem is all we want to do is just do us. All these guys want to do is get an opportunity to go play. No one cared when Carson Beck graduated 2 years ago and got all this money to go to Miami. But soon as Mensa wants to go, now people want to sue. Georgia has lawyers. They could have sued, but they have enough money from all these boosters. So it's not a lack of money. It's a lack of control that they have over the players. And it's like, no one's stupid. Like we've seen this story before. We've read history books. I know they're trying to whitewash history and erase history, but it's feeling a lot like, George Orwell's 1984. You should not have your hand. You shouldn't be having a roundtable on TV for this spectacle when you literally are sending people's children to war and you worried about people's children trying to make money here. It's like, what do you want? Just a bunch of people that just all they want to do is line up and go fight for you? Or you want guys to be able to make their own money, be independent? No, I can't have that. I need you following in line like everybody else is sitting around this table kissing my ass. And I'm sick of it. Like I said, I'm not getting political, but it's like, let's keep it real. Let's keep
Well,
it
you
real.
ain't going to
It
get
has nothing to
political,
do.
but I'll get political because, as the great Sean Corey Carter once said, I thought this was America, people. You know what I'm saying? I thought it was about capitalism.
White.
I thought it was about capitalism. I thought it was about the free market. I thought it was about, hey, if somebody is willing to give me X, you mind your business and let me count my bills. You know what I'm saying? So from that standpoint, when I look at these football players, you know, I saw people make suggestions along the lines of let's get rid of the collectives. You know, we talked about these states the other day that are either trying to make NIL tax free or, you know, some that are giving the businesses that invest in these teams certain breaks, you know, whatever the case may be. So this is the problem. The problem is that throughout the 140 years or so that college athletics have been a thing, you know, nobody ever found a way to make gymnastics, you know, swimming, lacrosse, or any of these sports lucrative or, you know, have them generate some kind of revenue that the school could bank in on. That's not the player's fault. You know what I'm saying? That's your fault as a university to not leverage your sports, because when we think about this, and this just came to me as you were talking, you know what I mean? When I look at some of these sports, this is where we get our Olympic athletes from. And none of those sports generate revenue. All the money that those sports get, whether it's their facilities, the uniforms, XYZ, comes from off the back of the football program. So you can't use the money that these players generate and spend it everywhere else and then go, I don't want you to have it though. And then, like I said, like if you're not going to tell the regular students that they can't transfer more than once, don't punish me because I'm gifted.
Let's keep it real. Let's keep it all the way a buck. Last week, our show, you gave your perfect NCAA football conferences. Why is USC in the Big Ten? Why is Texas in the SEC? For money. So all of these schools left all their traditional locations for money. So now the school moves and gets money. That money goes to recruiting, it goes to coaching, it goes to facilities, it goes to equipment. So they move to get more money. They're allowed to do that. But when I'm a player and I'm like, hey, I know you're getting $38 million this year for just being completely out of your geographical range as far as a football conference, but some of that $38 million, I just want 1.4 of it. That's it. I'll stay for 2 years if you want. But I'm like, if you're offering up money for my name, image, like so I can come play, let me get one of them Dodge Chargers, maybe a Durango, and you'll get this quarterback arm for the next couple of years.
Bruh,
like
so
that's my leverage.
So, and granted, this is AI. You know what I'm saying? So let me go ahead and say that first. This is AI.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But Ohio State makes somewhere between $10 and $15 million per home football game. They spent about $30 million on their coach salaries last year and operated at a $37 million deficit last year. You know what I mean? So something else is afoot here. You know what I mean? And it's not my job as a player to help you save money.
Yeah, like I'm not here to help you fix your books. Like my son's birthday is tomorrow. We went to go get him a car. We went to a place and they had the car, they had it priced one price, and they said something again, we do an intake inspection like $2,500, blah, blah, blah. So I'm in the car. I'm like, wait, hold on. So you bought a car from an auction, brought it here, you did your inspection to make sure you can sell it, and now you're trying to leverage the cost onto me? Like, why am I going to pay for the inspection you had to do to make sure the car was sellable? Like, that doesn't make any sense. As a player, like, it's not my job to make sure your books are balanced. You have accountants, you have an accounting department. you have accounting students, and you have enough money to hire good accountants. I'm here because this coach recruited me to play defensive tackle, and in that conversation, $250,000 was going to come to me in NIL, and I was going to get a car and whatever else that came along with this negotiation that I made. You guys need to be better negotiators and stop being so greedy and think about, like I said, Miami got $20 million. They didn't win the national championship, but the football team got that $20 million and they got to keep it. You think they're worried about NIL because they went right out and took another player from the ACC, from another school. That's the problem. The schools are literally fleecing the other schools. The players aren't fleecing the schools.
But then as far as the transfer thing, trying to control the players' movement, we just are not that far removed from schools being able to tell you where you could transfer. You can't transfer to a school within this conference. You can't transfer to a school.
For not letting you go to SEC school.
So now it's, well, I can't control where you go, but now I want to control how often you can move. Now, granted, like I said, as a fan that loves football, that loves all the stuff, that tries to cover this stuff, and I got to remember who's on what team and all that kind of stuff, I absolutely hate that these dudes move so much. You know what I mean? But at the same time, after you'd have seen a coach leave a playoff team, in the middle of the season, so it's not even as if they played the first round of the playoffs and he was like, yo, I got to get to LSU so that I can recruit or whatever the case may be. Like, he left, like literally the last game of the season against Mississippi State. We were sitting here saying, is he going to be the coach after the Egg Bowl? But you're upset that a player left after the season was over when you still have ample time to get a replacement for them.
I fulfilled my obligation to your school. Lincoln Riley had a jet on the tarmac. If they win that game, Oklahoma's 11-1, and they're in the 14 playoff. They lose. He's on a plane. He was doing a press conference dressed in USC colors the next day. His daughters had little dresses on. His wife was there. They had a whole thing set up. Did they set that up in 2 days?
Yeah, that's like,
was he gonna go anyway?
Just from my own experience,
he left, the game
right?
was Sunday, and the game was like Saturday night. He was already in LA Sunday night.
Well, just from my own experience, Jimbo Fisher, not too long after winning the national title, gets a call from Texas A&M. Texas A&M says, hey, we got the Brinks truck for you. And you know what I mean? We had to let him go, the week before the last game of the season when we were playing our cupcake. You know what I mean?
And coaches, like I said, coaches will sit in someone's mother's living room with their mother and their father and their grandfather and their little brother and little sister.
I'm going to take care of your child.
Send me your son. Send me your brother. Your brother's going to be a man the next time you see him after spring practice. And then Ole Miss called and it's like, hey, your brother's gonna be a man. It's just gonna be another man that's gonna help him do that. I'm going to Ole Miss with somebody else's brother, and I'm gonna take them. But I don't want him to move around.
And don't get me wrong, on a basic, fundamental human level, I don't fault the head coach for leaving for a better opportunity. The only difference is I don't fault the player for leaving for a better opportunity because I thought this was America, people.
Everybody will leave for a better opportunity.
So, Mr. Logical, as we were talking about, brackets come out on Sunday. The madness is here. We got a couple of teams that have already made the NCAA tournament, and they are as follows. Queens University out of the Atlantic Sun, Northern Iowa, High Point, Long Island, coached by Rod Strickland, Tennessee State, coached by Nolan Smith, North Dakota State, the Furman Paladins. Remember that game, not buzzer beater, but the game winner they hit against Virginia. Troy is in the tournament for the second straight year. And we got a couple of teams tonight. Wright State is in the tournament as of a few minutes ago. Let's see. Hofstra and head coach. You ready for this name, Mr. Logical?
Let's hear it.
Hofstra and head coach Speedy Claxton are in the NCAA tournament as of a few minutes ago. We got Jerry McNamara trying to get into the NCAA tournament, as well tonight. We got Gonzaga and Santa Clara playing for the West Coast title. And by the way, AJ DeBoncha with 40 and 9 tonight. So, Mr. Logical, as these brackets come upon us, I think our number one seeds are already known. I think we're sitting on Duke, we're sitting on Michigan, we're sitting on Arizona, and now UConn has been usurped. Being that they lost to Marquette the other day, a Marquette team without a winning record. The Florida Gators are probably going to get that fourth number one seed. But now Duke has Caleb Foster out indefinitely. Patrick, I can't even say his name, Ebanga, saying out for the year. So if y'all were picking Duke to go far in this tournament, I ask you to reconsider maybe, but they still got enough talent to get it done. We got the big tournament started today. So here's my sleepers for you. In the ACC, Florida State is my sleeper. It's not what you think it is. Florida State is the sleeper here. Over the last month or so, they've beaten Clemson. They've beaten SMU. They've been beating these teams. Stanford's out now. In the Big Ten, Wisconsin, they've won at Illinois. They've won at Purdue. In the SEC, you think I'm going to pick Kentucky, but I'm not, because Kentucky could go either way, but I'm going to go with Georgia. In the Big 12, I'm going to go with Cincinnati. Okay, so Pat is out for the ACC tournament, not the NCAA tournament. My bad. And then Seton Hall in the Big East, they better at least get to the semifinals, and they might need to get to the conference finals. But, Mr. Logical, last week I asked about questions. What questions do you ask when you're filling out the bracket? So here's a question that I want people to think about.
All right.
Is this year's Michigan team the basketball version of Mike Tyson? If you can just keep it close and hang around a little bit,
the mistake will happen.
Then they close the game. Because all year long, they've been winning these games by 30, 40 points. They even took care of Sparty the other day by 10. Now, granted, that was a close game that Michigan was able to close out, but they lost LJ Kaysen for the year. Right? Yeah. They lost LJ Kaysen for the year. So, Michigan, I came into the season and I had them in the Final Four. You know what I mean? I still think I'd like them to get to the Final Four, but we'll see once we see the bracket. But here's a question for you, Mr. Logical. Should conference tournaments go away?
They should go away for the Power Four conferences.
Okay, tell me more.
You have enough evidence to support whether or not UCLA, Ohio State, or Minnesota deserves an opportunity in the big dance. It should be reserved for, that opportunity should be reserved. Minnesota shouldn't be able to go 15 and 16 and then just blaze through the Big Ten tournament and steal a spot from a Miami of Ohio team that might end up 31-1. I mean, one of those teams that just kind of put it all together for the tournament, and they were 18 and 16 going into the tournament, and then they go on this run, they win 4 or 5 games in a row. No, they're 16 and 18. And then they finish the tournament 25 or 21 and 18. And it's oh, well, they won a tournament, they get in. You shouldn't get a last ditch effort when you've given all the opportunities beforehand, because you're going to get the benefit of the doubt off the rip. An 18 and 15 big Power 4 school will get the benefit of the doubt over a 27 and 2 Drake. I don't think you should let the in-season tournament boost their numbers. And then Drake, because they play wherever they play, they don't get an opportunity for the tournament. Because realistically, all 68 teams don't really have a shot. But I figure a team that's lost 16 times, they had plenty of opportunities to make a indelible mark on the committee. You don't get this last-ditch effort.
See, I look at it the other way around. Because I think that with the big conferences, we know who's going to get in. We know who's going to get in. Like, you know what I mean? Like looking at the Big East right now, I know that UConn is already in. St. John's is already in. Villanova's in. I look at the ACC and I can give you 4 or 5 teams that I know are in. The problem is these smaller conferences, and now granted, it's a double-sided coin, right? Because with the conference tournament, a lot of these smaller conferences like the Missouri Valley, like the OVC, they get to play games on ESPN that they wouldn't otherwise play. They get a little more exposure than they would normally get. But as I look at these conference tournaments, Mr. Logical, you know what I mean? I got Central Arkansas, Wilmington, Belmont, Navy, and East Tennessee State all win the regular season conference in their conferences. And now they're not going to make the NCAA tournament because they had a bad day.
4, 5, 6 games. They clearly were the best team in their conference.
Yeah, and Belmont, for example,
they should still get an opportunity to get in over, like 19 and 15 NC State that just goes on this run in the ACC tournament. I don't think that should. I think the team that won their conference by 4, 5, or 6 games should get an at-large bid, even if they don't win their conference tournament.
Well, it goes back to what we were just talking about.
I think the Power 5 schools are just going to get more opportunities.
It goes back to what we were just talking about, money.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like, you know what I mean? A school like Belmont, for example, off the top of my head, there's something like
they were the best. Their regular season record said that they were the best, Mike. Yeah, I feel you. But I feel what you're saying.
Yeah, so when we watch the NFL, counts. So when we watch the NFL, for example, we don't go, hey, the Philadelphia Eagles finished 12-5, Washington finished 9-8, Dallas finished 9-8, the Giants finished 6-11. Let's have this tournament real quick. And then the Giants beat everybody, and now the Eagles don't make the playoffs. Like, you know what I mean? So, like, from that standpoint, that's where I feel, because, like, these schools, their money from making the NCAA tournament, because a lot of them are going to be one and done, right? But so I would like to think that you want to put your best foot forward. So I want my best team to represent the conference in that tournament and pull an upset or have a better chance at pulling an upset. And that's how you get the exposure, because right now it's the Giants were a wild card team, but the Giants met the criteria of the NFL to make the playoffs.
They didn't have a separate NFC East playoff to represent the NFC East.
But we're talking about the season. Like, just imagine you're a Michigan fan. Michigan just in football. Michigan just won the national title 2 years ago, right? They had a 1 game, they went through the regular season, then they had the 1 game Big Ten title game. Imagine you play the conference tournament with all the teams again, and then you lose to that Ohio State team because you got to try to beat them twice. And then we go, oh no, you can't get in the playoff because you lost to Ohio State. Nobody's signing up for that. So from that standpoint, the conference tournaments are nothing but money grabs. You know what I mean? And it makes sense because it gets you the exposure. But I'm just telling the selection committee, do better. So with that being said, Mr. Logical, this year, and I don't want to base it off of 1 year, but this year is the perfect year that explains why the tournament does not need to expand. Because we're still sitting here talking about a 16-15 Auburn team who just lost, got their doors blown off by their rival the other day. And we're sitting here going, oh, they should still get consideration because they had the toughest schedule in the country. So you mean to tell me if they win a game in the SEC tournament, let's say they win 2, you know what I mean? And then they lose a game to, say, a Kentucky or, say, a Vanderbilt, I'm really going to be sitting up here trying to argue for an 18-16 team to get into the tournament? I think not. But yeah, so, we got the NCAA tournament. How about Miami of Ohio?
That's going to be the real argument. There's going to be real arguments to where Auburn right now sitting at 16-15, Oklahoma at 17-14. They pull another random.
I think Texas is in that bubble boat as well, but Texas at least has the quad 1 wins. Auburn has some good wins, but they got 15 losses. Like how much?
Yeah.
How many good wins do you have to have for me to let you in with 15 losses?
The Big Ten at Indiana at 18-13. They're on the bubble.
Ohio State has won 4 in a row, I believe, and they just beat their first good team 2 weeks ago.
So I'm looking at CBSSports.com, and
But you got to fill out the bracket.
Their projected bracket, as I'm looking at it now, this is what region do they have? Oh, they just have the seeds broken down, like each 1, 2, 3, 4, all 4 teams. So they have Miami of Ohio.
What up, Chris?
Funny. So they got Miami of Ohio as a 10 seed, with Texas at 18-13 out of SEC, St. Louis at 27-4, and Texas A&M at 21-10. So all of these guys are 10 seeds, even though the SEC schools both have double-digit wins, and the other 2 teams combined, or double-digit losses, and the other 2 teams combined for 4 losses. You have, let's see what else you got. You got VCU. They got them as 11 seed at 24-7. But if you go,
and a lot of that is based on conference strength because you're 24-7, but I don't think VCU has a good win on their resume. They got swept by St. Louis. St. Louis has lost 2 games by 25 points. You know what I mean? But here they are, like nobody's questioning them. Whereas Miami, like I said, they just went undefeated, and people are still. They got this ranked schedule. They got, whatever the case may be. And then somebody did I forgot the guy's name, so forgive me, but there was a guy who did a FOIA request to see who did Miami try to schedule this year. And there were a couple of ACC teams. There was a couple of, Big 12 teams. And those teams said no. So, so I can't penalize you because somebody won't play you. But I don't care, like, what sport we're playing. If you're undefeated, you have a right to try to play for a championship. Now, if this was a 4-team playoff like college football was,
you
know what I mean?
Tournament of monsters. And basketball is different. Basketball, you can really get a guy that will go with Golke from Oakland out of Auburn Hills or something like that in Michigan.
Yeah.
I won't say single-handedly took down Kentucky because a lot of guys hit big threes, but you have that opportunity with basketball. And for me, and I understand that you're selling a product, it's going to be hard to get fans, especially now with prices of where they are, gas prices and just traveling. It's going to be hard to get, let's see, I'm looking at it right now. We got, like I said, we got NC State, a 9 seed potentially at 19-12. They're
who just lost to Stanford at home. And by the way, real quick, by the way, I don't know if y'all are watching this game because it's a 25-point game, so you're probably not watching it. But shout out to my Kentucky Wildcat, Bam Adebayo, with 77 points right now. You know what I mean? Granted, it's against my team, so that sucks. But 77 points is 77 points.
Wait, what?
77
right
points.
Now?
Yes, right now.
Hold up.
Yes. Now this is my problem.
Everything.
Well, this is my problem, though. This is my problem, Mike, and this is my problem, Raph. The motherfucker got 77 points, right? How tall is Bam? He plays center, right? I mean, he ain't that tall. They got him real. He's like 6'9".
I think they're 6'9".
You know what I'm saying? How you 20 for 41? You know what I'm saying? How you 30 of 37? He's 30 of 37 from the free throw line.
Only 3 assists, though.
He attempted 23 pointers.
Did they take him? Is he still in the game? You can't. Yes. They won't let him. They gonna let him break Kobe's record?
They trying to get him to break Kobe's record. This is not happening in the year of our Lord 2026.
I gotta pull this up. You know this better be on my TV.
Anyway.
Yeah, but like I said, I just think that the NCAA tournament just has like you're not going to get that many fans anyway. Most of your money is going to come from either people gambling with these brackets or your big, like your Final Four, when you get down to the Sweet 16. Because I don't know how many people are going to travel for. Is it on? Of course it's not on. I don't know how many people are going to travel for, like I said, NC State versus Texas A&M.
No, people will watch it just because of names. You know what I mean? They have big fan
The game's played in
bases
Ohio. Like, I don't know how many people you're going to get from each state to play that game.
Well, I think, it's an NCAA tournament game. So like, I think people will show up. I think
locally, I think you'll be able to fill the arena, but it's going to have to be regular prices. It's not going to be fandom prices. Like, you're not going to be able to sell first round tickets for like $700. You have to sell them for like regular, normal. We want to get people from this town to come to these games. So the prices, and then they cycle people in and out because like they'll play a game, it'll end, and then the Northern Iowa whatchamacallit game will come on at right after that. They go to commercial break, they clear the fans out, or you buy a double package. So they were doing it here because they had games in Newark. So you'd buy a ticket and you can either get both games or the second game. Like you couldn't just get the first game. You had to get both of them because you're in the arena already.
Right. So since we brought up the NBA ever so briefly, let's talk about it. Mr. Logical, here's a question for you. Can the Spurs do this?
Speaking of the Spurs, right now they're up 6 late in the third on Boston. I think they have all the pieces. They have the dynamic player that every team needs. They have the matchup problems. I think they have a great organization. They have a great coaching staff. Wemby can outduel because if I go 1-2 OKC, San Antonio, Western Conference Finals. We saw what Indiana did last year. Granted, that was last year, but if you can get one of those games where Wemby goes for like 32, 10, 5 or 6 blocks, just dominates the paint, and SGA doesn't get the foul calls, then you might be able to steal a game because he has the kind of capability that it doesn't matter if it's a home or a road game because he's such a dynamic, just physical specimen who plays well. Like, we want to knock him, but what he's able to do, 79 points.
I know. He hit a couple of more free throws. I know.
So what he's able to do physically, and he's gifted. So it's like.
And by the way, those were his 38th and 39th free throws. that he attempted. But no. Go ahead.
So I think that's their advantage. I think they're skilled everywhere else. We talk about the young players. It's probably the 4th year in a row to have someone in the running for Rookie of the Year, or at least someone you would consider preseason. Hey, this potential Rookie of the Year candidate. And like I said, they said great pedigree. The organization just knows how to win games, and when you know how to win games and you have this ultimate unicorn.
Yeah,
I think I still like OKC because I think OKC is experienced and balanced, and their dynamic players are normal sized basketball player. I still like them, but it wouldn't surprise me if he just took over a game. If Chet can't guard him, or Hardenstein can't guard him, or if you do some herky-jerky, like try to put Caruso on him just as a stronger body. Like, I think he can make you change up so many things you could do that, and then, his finger roll from the free throw line is just one step. So, like I said, I think it's possible just because they have all of those pieces. They have great role players. It's a matter of, like, can your MVP outduel our unicorn?
Yeah, so I think that to answer the question, I think the Spurs can do it. I don't think they will. Like, even though they do match up with OKC, they got, very well, obviously. We've talked about that throughout this year. they have 2 rounds they got to get through before they can get to OKC. And we're talking about a young team that hasn't been in the playoffs yet. You know what I mean? And like to whereas OKC was obviously young last year.
Hold on, this dude has 80
You know what I mean?
points.
Yeah, he has 81 points now.
Now you got to come out.
81 points. You know,
now you got to come out.
Fuck my life. That's all I got to say about that. You know what I'm saying? That's all I got to say about that.
I'm listening. I gotta pull up the highlights. I gotta pull up the highlights. They gotta be already on.
But they got to get through 2 rounds to get to OKC. First of all, if everything remains as it is, so the way I like to think of these things is the Spurs. The thing that makes them so formidable is that they have the offense that matches their defense. You know what I mean? So like they do got vets, but their best players are young. You know what I'm saying? The best players like Wemby, this is year 3 for Castle. You know what I mean? Year 2, maybe. Actually, yeah, year 3. This is they got what's his name? The rookie Harper. They just drafted Harper this year. De'Aaron Fox hasn't necessarily had playoff success. You know what I mean? Like they got Barnes. You know what I mean? They got Cornette. Cornette has success as a guy that played minimally for Boston. So we're not talking about guys that have pedigree per se besides Harrison Barnes. And Vassell, get him out of here. He shoot too damn much. But but I think that they have the ability. But when I'm looking at this, I've seen Ant, for example, put a team on his back in the playoffs. Denver has Jokic, who's going to make everybody else champagne for real, Mike. Saying Jokic makes the rest of the team better. That can't really function when he's not there. And Aaron Gordon is back now. And Wemby can't guard both of them. So I think there's still going to be a tall task here, but I'm here for it. I would love to see the Spurs against OKC in the Western Conference Finals, but I got my questions. You know what I mean? But also, as we venture deeper into it, Boston, Jayson Tatum is back. You know what I mean? And here's a question. Even though we're talking about Boston, I'm going to ask you about a different team. So up until tonight,
my bad. So I'm watching. They got the Heat Wizards game on. This dude just grabbed Bam so he couldn't get to the rebound. Like he hooked him with both arms. Like you're not passing Kobe on my watch, but he still got him out there. And I'm like, as a Wizards fan, I'd be a little pissed. I'm not gonna front.
No, I get it, but at the same time, it's one of those things. If you're within that reach, you got to go for it. I don't care. I don't care if Miami was up by 50. If you're that close, you got to go for it.
They are double teaming him. Like he can't even get the inbound. Like they're
they probably should have started double teaming him a half hour ago. How about that?
Oh, he's getting 2 free throws. Oh, this is nuts. He's about to get 2 free throws. Fans go like, "Yo, this is crazy."
You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna ask you about a different team.
That's the best part.
I'm gonna ask you about a different team. So even though we're gonna pivot to Boston, here's the question. So coming into tonight, thank God they're playing the Nets tonight. But the Pistons lost 4 in a row coming into this game tonight. As we sit here right now, they sit 2.5 games up on Boston. So obviously they'll pick up a game if Boston loses to San Antonio tonight. If you're Detroit and you don't finish with the 1 seed after this season that you just had,
you're worried going into the playoffs, yes.
Does that break you?
Yeah. You're worried because that's the kind of situation where your second round matchup, you're going to have home court advantage. You're going to get a team like, so your 2 second round matchup, you probably get, if you fall to 2, you're going to play 2-3. You get the Knicks at home, and you lose that first game. Okay. So now you're going to be thinking like, oh, if we didn't fall to 2, we would get this team that like you would get Cleveland. Yeah, you get. I think you pick your poison, but like losing in your first game of the second round is when it's like you're gonna win. You're gonna beat whoever you get in the first round.
Maybe.
I mean, you're gonna get the Hawks or the 76ers.
Well, yeah. So Maxey.
Bam can't score 83 every night. That's crazy.
Well, Maxey is hurt. You know what I mean? He's getting reevaluated in 3 weeks. Embiid, has been up and down, of course, injury-wise, as he always is. You know what I mean? But what about the Charlotte Hornets? You know what I mean? Like, hey, 15-5 in their last 20?
Remember when the Houston Rockets won like 20-something games in a row? Did anybody pick them to win the Western Conference?
No.
Same thing. They're just having a lot of fun.
We still bang on T-Mac for that too.
Yeah, they're just having a lot of fun. I think they have a lot of young players. I have a feeling that they're going to butcher it and try to do too much in this offseason, thinking we got to make one more move. How's that not a travel? Whatever. So I like Charlotte. I think they're very entertaining. But when you're playing different teams every night, you can rack up these wins, 16 out of 19 wins, 17 out of 21 games. You could do that. But like in a 7-game series where you get, I won't say exposed, but people just understand like, okay, he turns over his left shoulder pretty much every time I'm defending him. I'm just going to play him that way and make him turn over his right shoulder. Or this is the play they like to run in this situation. 7 seconds on the play clock, ball goes out of bounds. This is their set. You figure that stuff out over the course of a 7-game series.
Right.
And they're going to be on the road for the first 2. So that's home court advantage already. Road players don't play as great. And you're kind of not exposing, but you're showing your plays for those 2 games while they're at home. And that's why so many of these first rounds in the sweep or gentleman's sweeps, because it's like, we're the better team. We're on home. And we know everything you're trying to do when you're scrapping to try to come back against a better team. And I think that's what
I don't know if I trust the Knicks to beat the Hornets if that's who they match up with in the first round, but that's probably an unlikely first round matchup, so they don't have to worry about that. But I think Boston, Jayson Tatum's back. It took him a minute to get started, as we knew that it would, but eventually you started to see some flashes of the Jayson Tatum that we know. So from what you've seen so far, because we've been talking about, hey, you getting Jayson Tatum back. I think you said something along the lines of like, yo, you getting some F-15s, you know what I mean? So like, so now that Jayson Tatum is back and what you've seen so far, are you still feeling good about Boston and going forward?
I mean, listen,
or is it too soon?
I picked Detroit because I thought that they're playing their style of bully ball. And because they've been playing it that way all year, I think they're going to be allowed to I think they're going to be able to ramp it up just a little bit more in the playoffs. Because, LeBron talked about it before. It's like, we know every year in the playoffs, you let every team play more physical. But yet in the regular season, you're calling all these fouls. So it's like around March, start calling it the way you're going to call it in the playoffs. Like late March, start calling the way you're going to call it in the playoffs. Well, Detroit is playing like playoff physicality basketball already. So if they get another edge, I think that'll be enough for them. Jayson Tatum, I said before he came back, I was like, well, they're sitting at 64 games right now. So I gives them 18 regular season games left. That's about 4 weeks, give or take. About 3.5 games a week, give or take. So if he gets back in shape, get like playing shape, and he gets in rhythm, Boston's obviously dangerous because I watched the game when he came back and he was like 0 for 5. They weren't trying to force him the ball to get his shot up. They just figured like, listen, you know the offense. Get down here.
I'm not watching the game right now, but
he got that putback rebound.
Yeah, I'm not watching the game right now, but him and Derek White both have taken 20 shots. Jaylen Brown's only taken 8, but it looks like he might be. Is he injured? Is that what that means? But I'm not watching the game right now, so I don't have any context right now.
Yeah, I just looked. It was on, but then they put the Miami and Washington game on. But Tatum just hit like a sidestep 3.
So, well, it's crazy, right? Oh, he got ejected. That's why. But that's the crazy part, though, right? Because when we think about it, coming into this season, the only reason we picked anybody other than Boston was because Jayson Tatum wasn't there. So a
Right.
lot of people felt like, hey, the Knicks beat Boston in the playoffs last year, went up, 3-0 or whatever, 2-0, whatever it was. And they came into this season with no Jayson Tatum. So theoretically, Tyrese Halliburton was hurt. So this has to be the Knicks' year. Whereas I was kind of looking at it like, no, I still don't trust the Knicks. Like, I was a big Cavs guy. So, like, Cavs going to the finals. And I was going off of Jayson Tatum not coming back this year.
I didn't think it was anywhere in the hell he would come back, especially in March.
Yeah, so now that we're here, I feel like picking anybody other than Boston is the wrong answer, but you know what I mean? But I'm going to stick with my pick. I'm not going to be that guy. I'm, like we said it 2 weeks ago, I'm staying with my Nuggets, Cleveland finals or whatever, even though, how about SGA with the game winner against the Nuggets?
I thought they were down 2 when he put the shot up, but really he just wanted that shot.
Yeah. So it was a great shot. And no little J-Dub. So big J-Dub came out and went 29-12 to your point about how deep they are. Caruso didn't play. Like, it's just nuts, the talent that this team has, And Jarrett McCain, we were talking about him. He's shooting 43% from 3 since he got there. It's just embarrassing, man. Like I don't know.
Embarrassment of riches.
Like, outside of Wemby just being a force of life, you know what I'm saying? I just don't know how you pick anybody other than OKC, right now. You know what I mean? But I would like to see OKC Boston just from the standpoint of, since Boston likes to shoot all those threes, can you shoot your way through Oklahoma City? Because you ain't going to drive through them.
That's tough. And the shooters for Boston, a lot of guys, a lot of height. Like Peyton Pritchard's, obviously you're an undersized guy, but a lot of their shooters are big guys. House is a big guy. Schwerterman, or how you say his name. I think he went to Creighton. He's a big, it's a big shooter. Like a Wemby. Wemby's defending this guy at the half court line. Oh, he banks one in. Yeah, I just think Boston plays with such like a freedom that KD described Golden State. He was like, I just like the way they play basketball. And I think losing your one of your best players should have set you back. But I guess just the way they play basketball and the freedom, like Harper Jr. just shot a 3 at the end of the shot clock, and now he's about to get another opportunity. He's driving to the basket, more buckets. It's like a lot of teams don't let their 4th or 5th guy dribble off the 3-point line and take it to the cup. Whereas Boston, like, listen, if they run you off the 3-point line and you can take your man off the dribble, go to the cup.
Yeah. I don't know.
I think they're just ready. I think they're just ready to play, 5-man basketball at all times. And that's dangerous because a lot of teams, we talk about the Lakers, we talk about Denver. Who's a couple other teams that tend to kind of play the Knicks. They kind of play through 2 people. The Cavaliers, they kind of play through a couple of guys. And it's when it gets stagnant, like if Donovan Mitchell's shot's not falling, all right, are they going to open it up and give these guys, like, these role players more freedom and opportunity? Whereas Boston, I think, just
and that's the other thing. And that's the other thing that concerns me about Cleveland is that Mobley and Allen, just this season haven't had a lot of time together, relatively speaking. So last thing we'll wrap up on real quick, just because we haven't said his name today, LeBron James. So what do you think? 11 games. What do you think the Lakers' record is with Reeves and Luka, no LeBron?
They played 11 games with just Reeves and Luka.
Yeah,
and no LeBron.
And no LeBron. Yeah. What do you think their record is?
9-2.
9-2. Ain't that some shit? So you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, man.
They don't play great 5-man basketball in LA. LA has, like, LeBron is, he is the epicenter of, like, basketball talent. And Luka's a very talented basketball player. they just don't play well. I don't like the temperament of their coach.
Well, I was watching the game the other day, and you would have thought.
I don't think it works. I don't think it works at all.
I was watching the game on Sunday, and you would have thought it was in MSG. You know what I mean? Like those Knicks fans took over the crypto, formerly known as Staples. You know what I mean? It's nuts out here. Yeah, that's a good point, Mike. No, they have no system. Their system is
none.
LeBron and Luka. Somebody find somebody.
LeBron, Luka, like that was part of my
and DeAndre Ayton. You know what I mean? Like
Boston. Like I said, Ron Harper Jr. just shot a 3 at the end of the shot clock. I got it right this time, right?
No,
Boston.
He's for Dylan Boston. Harper, man.
Dylan plays in San Antonio.
Oh, that's what I thought you were talking about.
No, Ron plays in Boston.
Oh, I thought you were talking about my bad.
Yeah. So he just shot, like I say, he shot a 3 at the end of the shot clock, banked it in. Next possession, got the ball in the corner for a 3. They close out on him, dribble drive to the basket, got a layup. If they close out on Rui, he just kicks it back to LeBron or Luka. Like there's not like I know for a fact that if I close out hard enough on Vanderbilt, he'll triple threat, and then he'll just get it back to Luka. And then Luka maybe will get it to Austin Reeves, and Austin Reeves might get like a little brush screen from Luka, and he'll go one-on-one with this man in the paint, and he'll work his footwork and try to get a bump and shoot a little floater while LeBron is standing over there taking a break. It's just like there's no flow to how they get their points. They have play calls, but if the play is set up to go one way and it gets and the defense cuts it off, and then Marcus Smart ends up with the ball with 7 seconds left in the shot clock, he's going to go for it. But that's not the high percentage shot you want. But that's what you end up with because they try to run these plays and they don't give the guys the freedom to ad lib. Like, all right, boom, I'm supposed to come down here in this down screen. But if I slip it and I'm running to the paint, Luka's not looking to give me the ball because there's no real flow. Like that's not what a play's supposed to do.
And Marcus Smart is finally starting to just now look like Marcus Smart, these last couple of games. So, that could be helpful in the playoffs. But the problem is that you got a dude on, your roster that should be getting long-term Medicare. And, at this point, you're asking him to ramp it up in the play. Well, he's trying to ramp it up in the playoffs, and
so
he just doesn't have that extra gear anymore.
Of LA versus Houston, I'm taking Houston.
I think I might like LA in that series, though, because Houston has been a disappointment this year. Now, Reed Shepherd has been coming on lately. I'm not saying that just because he went to Kentucky, but but Reed Shepherd has been coming on lately. He looks like the best point guard they have for this year, but Ime just won't commit. You know what I mean? And they got too many dudes.
I think that the likelihood that Luka and LeBron both have 17-point games in Houston is more likely than both of them having 30-point games.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I just think that I think Austin Reeves going 5 for 17 is more likely to happen with LeBron also going 6 for 14.
I heard
because they like there's no way to get them open, to get them space. If one of the big three is struggling, DeAndre Ayton's not going to get you any putback dunks, get you easy point. Jackson Hayes doesn't get enough rotation. Rui doesn't get you point. Vanderbilt barely.
Yeah, I like LaRavia too. I heard the funniest joke of 2026 today. Kristaps Porzingis says that he's healthy.
Well, you got to wish him health. The man had a critical disease they couldn't name.
All I know is
if he got rid of that, I'm happy for him.
All I know is they got to stop playing around. I know Steph isn't back yet, but they're sitting in 9th right now, which means that, they're going to have to win twice to get to the playoff. You know what I mean? They got the Clippers right in front of them, same record. And, you know what I mean? Darius Garland is back now. So I think the Clippers can give somebody some trouble. You know what I mean? If they could get into the actual playoff, like it won't be OKC, obviously. It won't be the Spurs. So the top seeds are safe. It's just that with the play-in, the Clippers ain't going to play anybody that they could threaten.
As it stands right now, if it ended, we'd have Clippers, Thunder's Clippers,
It'll be
Spurs,
Clippers Suns. It'll be Clippers Suns in the play-in.
No, I'm just saying, like, as the 8 right now, 1 through 8.
Oh, as it is, okay.
Yeah, ignoring the Trailblazers and the Warriors because I don't think they're gonna make it. So Thunder, Clippers, that's a gentleman's sweep. Spurs, Suns.
That's a direct sweep. That's not even a gentleman's sweep. They just sweeping.
Minnesota, Nuggets. That's 6 either way. Whoever's healthy and hot.
That's the series that I'm afraid of because I picked Denver to win the title. So
yeah,
that's like I talked about that. Minnesota just has had their number ever since Karl Anthony Towns did that whack ass salute in Game 7.
And then your Rockets, Lakers. That's you say you don't trust the Rockets. I'm not really on board with the Lakers having like.
The problem is
offensive play. I know they're one of the top offensive teams, but I just feel like almost every time I've watched one of their games, it just is. It looks like the shots are going in, but it's like not. No one's getting to the bucket. No one's getting just easy looks. Is all Luka from.
Well, I think my problem is that for the Rockets to have playoff success, I feel like KD has to average about, I'll call it 29. He has to average 29. But he needs to do it every night. So it's not like he scored 34 here, then he had 24 there, and then it averages out. Like he needs to legit. The same way that I'm talking about how
for the series.
Yeah, like the way that I'm talking about how LeBron is trying to
Dwayne Wade 06
and he's too old.
Series.
And he's too old at this point, and he doesn't have that type of game to where he's going to get to the bucket like that to get those easy free throws or to get those shots. Like he's a jump shooter. So you got guys like Jabari Smith, who is, I guess, the low budget version of Kevin Durant. You know what I mean? You got Tari Eason, who hasn't really found his shot this year. I don't think Amen Thompson could hit me if I was standing in front of him.
I thought he worked on that. That was like the thing that says he's going to go in the offseason, he's going to come back, he's going to be a better shooter.
Well, he better work on it again. And, he better work on it again. And that's the other problem, is that I just don't know who is going to pick up the slack. Because that's what happened last year, right? Jalen Green had a bad series. And Amen stepped up in moments, but they still didn't have a guy that you could go, we need you to go out here right now and put the ball in the basket. They have that with Kevin Durant now. But what if his shot isn't falling?
You, like, Charles, I always quote Charles Barkley, like, listen, you need a guy that can get his own bucket. You need a defensive guy, a guy who just plays good, hard, solid defensive rebounds, and you need a crazy guy. You need all three of those kind of guys to win championships because everybody plays such a vital role. That's why Golden State with Draymond Green, he's their crazy guy. Back in the day, Udonis Haslem with the Heat, sometimes he wouldn't even be on the floor. He just was crazy from the bench and then matriculated onto the floor, just kind of crazy residue on that end of the court, and people picked up on it. If you don't have that, you can't win.
You can't win. It is
Mazzulla
what it
is the Boston crazy guy. He's a coach. He's nut. He says, every day is questionable. You never know if you're gonna wake up or not. Like that was an answer to like, hey, is Jayson Tatum gonna play tonight? He was like, every day I'm questionable. You never know if I'm gonna wake up.
That's the type of dude that you need with you at the gym, man. Like, like Mazzulla would be the best workout partner.
Yeah, when you're outnumbered in a fight.
Yeah.
It was like, he'll say something like, I'm not locked in with you, you locked in with me, like the dude from Washington. He'll say something like that. Like, you know what, man, this dude is...
He'd be like, you swing if you want, I'm going to use these teeth. Who's OKC's crazy guy, Mike says. Well, I don't know. The other J-Dub is kind of crazy grabbing Jokic like that, right? But I guess it would be either Lou Dort or maybe you could even argue Caruso.
Cabo. Caruso's their defensive guy. He's their he's the enforcer guy, like the guy who's going to get the tough rebound and put back dunks. Dort's your crazy guy. Couple, light skinned J. Will. They kind of take turns with their craziness. Yeah,
I don't know.
Luke
Like
Dort,
the way that he grabbed up on Ivan Drago, you know what I mean? He might got a little crazy in him.
Listen, I think at that point I was watching Dazed and Confused the other day. Remember that scene where they got in a fight when they had the party and the dude was like, listen, social norms, I'm gonna get one punch in, everybody else will come break it up because they don't want to mess up this party we're having. So if I get one good punch, people will break up the fight. And he got that punch in and no one came to break up the fight. So then dude whipped his ass. Jay Williams knew, like, oh, if I just grab him with all these people in between us, it looks like I want it. And Jokic knew, you don't want as bad as I do, because I'll keep you featuring my horses. He had that kind of look. And Jay Will was like talking, and he went to Twitter, obviously. That's how you know he didn't really want it, because he went to the internet. Jokic didn't tweet nothing out.
Yeah.
I bet his brothers would be the
Yeah, Jokic got popped by Dort again last night, too. But, you know what I'm saying? So we will holler at you guys later. He is the one and only world-renowned, world-famous, cool, calm, and collected. He goes by the name of Mr. Logical, and all he asks of you is that you don't bring feelings to a fact fight and don't bring a fight without Jokic.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, he was
gonna fight. Don't fight Jokic. I would have fought Jamal Murray just because I'm like, you know what? I'm going after the Canadian guy.
You're going to stop disrespecting these light-skinned Canadians, but
I'm going to go after the Canadian guy.
But he was born in Texas, raised in VA, representing everything New Jerusalem. You know, so he got his fingers crossed that Seton Hall is going to make this NCAA tournament. And then, of course, down here in the Alamo, it is your unorthodox statistician. I go by the name of 2-5. I do believe in Joe Hendry. I tell it how it is, and you tell it how it might be. You know what I'm saying? Like, review, subscribe, share, rate, do all the free things. Do all the good things. Liquid Death in hand. Love you. See you in a few days. Sports Reports is ordered, and we are everywhere you get your podcasts.
Hey! Sports reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this town. Real talk only, no chasing, no doubt. From the east to the west, it's the order we shout. Mic check, lights flash, game time, stay ready. 2 vets in the zone, keep the pressure real heavy. Big hits, big plays, yeah, we breaking it down. Truth rings in your speakers, every word is the crown. From the north side hustle to that southern flame. Midwest grind, west coast of the game. Sports talk kings.